friend like AARP. So your health lives longer.
This is just slow-mo karate.
Just slow-mo karate.
Your money lives longer.
I just bought that.
I just sold that.
And your happiness lives longer. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Join today.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to AARP Illinois special event. We're so happy that you're here. I'm Courtney Hedderman. I'm the Senior Associate State Director, and I am one of your Fraud-Fighting Fraudlettes. I'm so happy to have you join us. We are thrilled to be bringing the latest on frauds and scams and ultimately arming you with all the information that you need for not only prevention, but of course, reporting if unfortunately you're ever a victim. So we're again, welcome, happy to have you. We're so excited to bring this month's topic, mail fraud and how to protect yourself against mail fraud. And I am so very honored to be joined by Mary Johnson. She is the Public Information Officer at the United States Postal Inspection Service. So she's a very important person. And she knows all about this. She is definitely an expert and will be able to help all of us stay safe. So welcome to our event, Mary.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being here. Okay. So before we start our conversation and discussion, just want to remind all of our viewers here on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're viewing, if you'd like to ask a question or share your comment, in any of the feeds, please do that. Just put that in the comment section, any question you have or any comment that you have. We'll absolutely do our best to address any of the questions and comments that you have as we go along in the conversation. So please dialogue with us. We want to hear from you. So, all right. So I'll kick some things off, and then as folks enter questions, we'll add those. So anyway, Mary, let's just start off with the really probably easiest one. What is mail fraud?
You would think that would be a little bit easier to explain. So mail fraud in its essence is anything that's in furtherance of the scheme that causes a mailing to occur. That's the statute reading of it. For inspection service, though, we enforce over 200 different federal statutes. So mail fraud could be anything from public corruption to a lottery scheme to a Ponzi scheme. It could be any type of variety, as long as there's a mailing that's caused in furtherance of the scheme. That's all it takes.
Wow, that's incredible. I had no idea it was like actually that involved.
Very broad. Yeah, very broad.
Yeah, wow. I actually thought it was much more simplified than. So that's really helpful to hear all of that. And want to certainly welcome my colleague, Teresa Jones. So Teresa, welcome. We are our Fraud-Fighting Fraudlettes.
Yes. Hi, Mary. Hello,
Hi,
everyone
Teresa.
else. And Courtney, please forgive me. I was so busy. We just had a call once before and Courtney was on it, but she was smart enough to get off of it on time. I just wasn't. So I apologize for being late, but as Courtney already said, thank you, Mary, so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. So Mary just went through what mail fraud is, which is really important. But I guess, Mary, maybe can you share a little bit of like how common mail fraud is? Is this something that really does happen? And basically what are usually typical targets? Like who are really being targeted?
Sure. The short answer is everybody and anybody. I've been investigating fraud for almost 20 years now, and it is amazing to me that as soon as I think that I have seen it all, another scheme pops up. Really, the fraudsters are looking for anyone that will give them 2-3 minutes of their time. They're exceptionally good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They work this job, 8 hours a day, if not more, just like we work our regular jobs. So they're very, very cunning. They're very sophisticated. They know how to prime their targets. They know how to get them into a vulnerable spot. So it's actually very common to happen to a lot of people. It could be anyone from, college students to seniors. It could be the, 40-year-old sophisticated, educated woman. It could be anybody. Mm-hmm. So I don't want people thinking that because they're a certain group that they are, a specific target or not a target, because it really could be anybody. So it's really important that everybody educates themselves about it and that they ask questions and they talk to people. That's really a really big part of it. Right now, we're seeing a lot of political mail fraud scams. I'm sure you are much like myself. I must get about 20 texts a day asking me to donate to this this particular political group or that political, all the political groups all want to talk to you and want you to send money. It's really important that people understand that 99% of those are scams. They're really people probably not even in this country. They're coming from all over the universe. So it could be anybody and everybody, really, is the short answer of targets.
Wow. That's incredible.
Well, I have a question for you as well.
Sure.
So what are some common types of mail fraud schemes?
Sure. I probably could hit the top 5 for you. Otherwise, we would be here much longer than an hour. One of probably the top 5 that we see the most, lottery schemes are still very, very popular. It used to be a letter in the mail. Now it's an email or a text saying that you've won something. Most people haven't even, played the game, or quote unquote. The Publishers Clearinghouse has always been a really big one, because they are an actual legitimate company. However, what happens is people pretend to be them, and then they convince people that they've won something. It's usually a really extravagant amount of money. It's $10 million, $20 billion, whatever it is, a car, a house, jewelry. And then the way the scam is they say you have to pay taxes prior to. Which doesn't exist, of course. We all know that if we went out and bought a legitimate lottery ticket today and you won, the government's taking their cut way before you see any of that money, right? Like, they're not going to trust you to pay it ahead of time. They're going to take it from your winnings, which is traditional and it's proper. But the scam is to have you pay taxes or to have you pay some kind of fee because it's coming from out of the country. They have to bring the car in. It goes on and on and on. And once you give a little bit of money, it's really easy for them to get you to give more, right? Now you've become invested. And people want to believe that they're going to be able to change their family's lives. And that's really part of the scam, is they say that to you. Don't you want to change your family's life? Don't you want to make their lives better? You must not love them if you're not going to give another $2,000. And that's kind of how they bait you into it. That's a really big one that's never gone away. I've been looking at that for years. I don't think that'll ever go away. It's really on us to really educate people about it and for them to ask questions. The work from home scam is another wildly popular one, particularly since COVID. Could be any kind of a job. You think you're receiving mailings from a business, and then you're to mail them out. It's all a scam. It could be work from home, you're doing billing, you're receiving stamps, things like that. Those are all fraudulent. If you have a real work from home job, you're going to have a W-2. You're going to have to fill out paperwork. You're going to have a contact person. It's not going to be someone who hires you off of an email having never met you before. Things like that. Kind of common sense. The way a typical hiring should go is the way it should go online as well. We also have the romance schemes. Those are wildly popular, especially with the advent of online dating and apps. It's usually the person is wildly beautiful. They're very sophisticated. A lot of times the profile says that they're in the military. They're some kind of really noble. They're a politician. They're very noble, and they're, of course, out of the country. There's always some reason why they can't be in the country. They can't talk to you in person. They can't FaceTime you. They always have some kind of an issue where you have to send them money. But they're actually rich. They're always rich, but they'll get their money back. That's very standard. And those ones are the hardest ones, because it's really hard to break that emotional connection that people have, and that they're really searching for that. And it's difficult to explain to them that the person that they thought they were talking to doesn't really exist. It's a phantom. It's somebody who lives in another place and time, and you think you're talking to a Sports Illustrated supermodel, and it's actually some, dude behind the keyboard, you just don't know, if they can't FaceTime you, there's a reason for that, kind of common sense approaches. Investment fraud, also wildly popular, especially since COVID. It's always too good to be true. The profits that you'll get back, the returns are wildly outrageous compared to what we would see on a normal rate. Those are also very good. That kind of goes in line with Ponzi schemes. That's also another big one. And probably rounding it out would be the grandparent scheme. That one's really difficult. My mom was actually a victim of the grandparent scheme. Just devastating to me, right? I talk to her all the time about fraud and things like that, but
the worst.
We've noticed, when they trigger you with the idea of helping your child or your grandchild, it kind of connects into a different part of your brain, and it defies logic. And it's always, I always say that how you identify fraud is there's always a sense of urgency. It has to be done right now. There has to be a payment right now, and there's always a sense of secrecy. You can't tell anybody. You can't talk to anybody about it. And those are really the two big identifiers of how you know something's not right. If someone's trying to convince you of something and they want you to be secretive about it, they want you to go to the bank and take out cash, but don't tell anybody about it. Don't talk about it with your kids. Don't talk about it with your spouse or your siblings or a caretaker. That's always a really big indicator that there's fraud happening here.
That just, you almost can't say anything to that because it's horrible. But moving on, how can you kind of did say this a little bit, but how can you recognize a potential mail fraud attempt? I mean, besides what you had just said to us about keeping it a secret, what are some other things?
Yeah, I mean, really, the urgency is a really big one. It's always something that has to be right now. If you walk away from it, you'll never get this opportunity again, and that's just not real life, right? If you have a legitimate investment or you have a legitimate job offer, you're going to be entitled the time to sit and think about it, to talk it over with people, to have a conversation with somebody. And the reason why they want that urgency and that secrecy is because they know they only have you on the hook for a few minutes. There's only a few minutes that you have to make that decision. When you feel that rushed kind of pressure, that's when you're more likely to be susceptible to the coercion. And that's really what they're looking for. They don't want you to talk to anybody about it. They definitely, I mean, I've seen scammers with, I think it was an investment scheme. I've also seen it with the romance scheme where they've shut down the phone lines to the victim. And they've actually redid their phone and send them their own phone. And the reason is to cut them away from their family, so that they can't have any contact with their family at all. And then they use that to their advantage. I'm the only one who loves you. When's the last time your daughter called you? When's the last time you heard from your loved ones? I'm the only one who loves you. I'm the only one who takes care of you. And the whole time it's a complete scam. They're just using you for money. And it's really heartbreaking. And I've seen every, age, race, creed, everything you can think of have been victims, in the years that I've been working at. And certainly I'm just a drop of water compared to the lifespan of fraud, right? It's been going on as far as there's been a mail system. Probably further before that, they just wrote it on rocks, right? There was probably a lottery scheme going on back then, I'd say. But really those are the two big indicators. If you ever are questioning or you're wondering, talk to someone, make a phone call a police department, call your loved ones, call who you trust the most in this world, and have them walk through that with you and say, hey, does this make sense to you? Does this seem right to you? And the best way to do that is to be open and honest and to live your life like you normally do. If this was a regular job offer, a regular person you wanted to have a romantic relationship with, right? Your first thing would be to introduce them to your family, right? And do the test, right? We all want to do the test. Are they going to work with our family or not? And that should still stay away, despite of how you've met them, whether it's online or through the mail or anything like that. It's those kind of indicators that are really things that we're looking for. The things that are too good to be true. I think that's a really old adage. I'm pretty sure my grandma told me that back in the day. If it's too good to be true, it really is. She's 100% correct, right? If the value of what you're being sold is too good to be true, it just doesn't sound right. Pause, take a beat, talk to somebody about that.
Maybe be proactive instead of reactive. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes. I agree with you.
Sure.
I agree with you.
Sure.
Well, so what happens if you, I guess, how can you identify a suspicious piece of mail, or what would you do too if you did think oh, this is suspicious? And you kind of alluded to, I think, a little bit in the last part, but just wanted to really highlight that piece.
Sure. I will say, so mail fraud is about 1% to 2% of the fraud that's out there. As far as these scams go, mail isn't usually used to move your personal identifying information or things like that. That's really kind of a antiquated system, we'll say. But this would really be for anybody, any kind of scam, whether it was online or in person or through the mail. It's kind of a blanketed suggestion. So if you had something, let's say you received a piece of mailing, and again, it's going to have those indicators, right? It's going to say urgent. It's going to have some kind of a time lapse to it that, if you don't, sign on for this by such and such date immediately, you lose that opportunity to have this wonderful opportunity. You're going to lose that. There's always going to have a sense of immediacy. So a lot of times the mail fraud, they'll try to copy legitimate businesses and they'll steal their logos and try to present themselves as being very legitimate. You can always call the company, not the number that's on the paper, but call the actual company themselves and say, hey, did you send me this mailing? Is this something that is real? Another thing I suggest is BBB, or Better Business Bureau. They are wonderful partners for fighting fraud. They are great assets, and they're a great place for education. AARP is another one, obviously. Reach out to them and say, hey, I have this. Can I talk to someone? You can even bring it to your local police department. You can call Inspection Service. We have a ton of online information as far as scams or things that we're dealing with. There's a ton of information online on our website. And there's our 800 number too. You can always call and say, hey, I'd like to talk to somebody about this. What do you think this is? So it's there's a lot of opportunity you have to reach out to people and discuss it and to make sure and try and verify what you have is legitimate.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I actually just over the weekend, my mom received a piece of mail, and she just didn't know. It was like, how there's a lot of privatization of electric. And so there was something that was sent from an electric company saying, here's all my stuff, right? Like, here's your opportunity as a customer. And it's, if you have questions, you contact them, et cetera. But she was wondering if she had to do something with that and if it was real or not. Yeah. And so I think we get a lot of mail like that, where we just don't know if we need to do something with it or we need to pay attention to it, especially in those kind of like solicitation type things. And so I can relate to some of that stuff. I feel like comes in my, not only for my loved ones, but even for myself too. I guess so, like, outside of, those, you kind of identified some of the red flags, but is there something else that we need to look out for that could indicate fraud? Again, whether it's in the, from the mail or not. I know you kind of identified some of those things, but is there something else that you just want to really hone in on?
Sure. Yeah. I think that really something that none of us ever really talk about is your instincts, right? When the hair on the back of your neck goes up and something feels not quite right, listen to that. Pay attention to that. That's really the moment. If you feel the need to question it, there's probably something wrong there. And that's when you should reach out to somebody and say, this could be legitimate or not. I don't know. And it's okay to ask that question. I don't ever want people to think that, oh, I hate to waste your time, or I don't want to bother a police officer, or I don't want to, burden my children, or whatever the scenario is, burden them. Ask the question. That's what the police department is there for. That's what, we're federal agents. That's what we're here for. At any moment in time, please come ask the question. Reach out to people, reach out to the BBB, reach out to AARP. You have a ton of resources out there. Ask the question. There's nothing wrong with that. And if the offer or the suggestion or whatever it is, the scheme is, if it's legitimate, time will keep. Right? It's not, nothing's going away over 24 hours because you didn't act on it. And if they're trying to apply any kind of pressure to you, that's how you know it's a scam. If they're, really, really pushing you or browbeating you or threatening you in any way, or trying to make you feel as though you're not good enough, or if you don't take this opportunity, you'll be less than, 100% it's a scam. 100%. Normal businesses don't act like that, right? Our customers are our bread and butter. We're not going to browbeat them. Those are all things to really think about. If you're feeling some kind of pressure, or you're hesitant in any way, just take a step back and ask somebody else. Ask for a fresh set of eyes to take a look at something, whether it's like I said, a police officer, a family member, whoever it is, just ask for a fresh set of eyes. There's nothing wrong with it. We all do it every day in the business world, right? How many times a day you say, you might, it might be your own work product. And you say, you know what, can you just take a look at this for me? What did I miss? You know, I might miss a word, or, you know, edit this for me. There should be no difference. You know, there's nothing wrong in this world with asking for help for anything. You know, and that's really something that you should be able to do, and something you should be comfortable doing. And if the person who's giving you the solicitation doesn't encourage that from you, then that should really be a red flag for you. That should really be something to make you take a step back.
First of all, I think it's amazing that how people can get your information, how they can get your, that they're even sending you stuff. You're like, well, I didn't ask for this. Why am I getting this? So you think, oh, yeah, I don't know, like there's just some special angel in the sky that says, oh, she needs to know about this. Let's send this to her. And with saying all of that, it's just like, how can you protect your personal information from being used in mail fraud?
Yeah, you know, honestly, in today's day and age, there's nothing private anymore, right? There's really nothing private with the advent of the internet and social media. And I mean, right, social media can be really positive. I mean, look at what we're using it for today, right? It's exceptionally positive and rewarding, and it's a great way for people to network and to stay in touch with each other. But with that, there's some pitfalls to that, right? There's really no way to protect your information from being out there, because really, if you do a simple Google search of yourself, you're out there. I'm out there, you're out there, we're all out there, right? And you know what they say, where there's a will, there's a way. There's plenty of legitimate and not legitimate companies that sell personal identifying information of people. There's a lot of mailing lists that are out there that if you apply for something, or you get on I'm sure we've all had that moment, right, where we buy a red swimsuit from a mail catalog or something online. Next thing you know, we're inundated with offers of fashion and swimsuits and bathing suits and hats and suntan lotion and all that kind of thing, right? And it's a part of the marketing world. You know, that's just the universe we're living in now. One thing I do encourage everybody to do is to take a look at your credit report. It's okay to be on a mailing on a mailing list or an email list. I mean, I can't tell you how many, times I've unsubscribed to email lists of things that I know I'm not subscribing to, but it is what it is. But make sure you're checking your credit report. You can always rip up a piece of paper and throw it away. But you have to make sure that your credit is secure. And the best way to do that is through your credit bureaus. Once a year, you can pull a credit report for free. I always recommend that you do all three credit, maybe quarterly. You can do, one bureau, one company, 1 month, and then another time. But make sure you know what's on there, what shouldn't be on there. Look at your inquiries, look at who's looking to give you credit. That's usually a big indicator of fraud. If there's something you didn't apply for, it'll tell you whether it was an actual application or if it was just an inquiry from a company. Might be, if you have a credit card with Chase Bank, they might be looking to see if maybe they're going to increase your limit, so they pull your credit. That's not a hit to your credit, so that's all legitimate. But if there's an application out there that you didn't apply for, then you need to be mindful of that, and you need to file a police report and then take the steps to protect your we call PII, personal identifying information.
Great advice. Thank you. Because I forget, I work with fraud, and I forget sometimes to check my credit reports and stuff. But we do have a question, something from Nancy on our Facebook. And she said, recently, I received an email from Xfinity saying my payment was not able to be charged to my auto pay on my Visa, and service would be discontinued today. But of course, I panicked and I called Xfinity, and it was a scam. So she said she guessed they were looking for her credit card, which is sad. So things like that. What do you say to those type of? I mean, because I know I get those sometimes, but I do know to call. But some people don't. They immediately say, "Oh, they're going to cut me off. Let me call."
Well, and that's a great example of what we were just talking about, right? That sense of urgency. Like, well, if we don't get your payment today, it's going to be canceled. Like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Real companies don't work like that, right? Xfinity is a massive company. They're not going to tell you, oh, and when are you going to get the letter? They don't know. They don't know when you're going to get that letter. So what does today even mean, right? They're going to tell you you're late maybe, but she did exactly the right thing, right? Didn't call the number that was on the letter, right? Called Xfinity directly. So bravo, Nancy. Well done. That's exactly the perfect scenario, because those happen all the time. I mean, I get emails and texts all the time saying, oh, hey, your PayPal account's it's going to be canceled if you don't update your credit card, or Amazon, or a bazillion things, right? And it's, again, we go back to the basics. There's that sense of urgency. It has to be right now. They cause panic and chaos. That's what they want, because it's harder to think logically when you're in a chaotic panic state, right? That's just human nature. So that's what they're trying to cause. They're trying to cause that chaos, that sense of urgency, that, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I'm so happy to hear, Nancy, that you absolutely did the right thing. You called the company directly. You understood that it's a credit card scam. And they're just trying to get your credit card number. And if for some reason you had been, you had given the credit card number, it's not the end of the world. I don't want anyone thinking that that something's wrong because you did that. It's fixable. All of this is fixable, right? It's just fraud. I don't want people thinking that this is the end of the universe if they're a victim of something. There should be absolutely no guilt or shame about being a victim. It happens absolutely to the best of the best of the best. No doubt. It's not about, your age or your race or anything like that. It's just they caught you at a bad moment, and we all have bad moments, and that's okay, but it's all fixable. It's all going to be okay. So I don't want people thinking that it's something that can't be undone. It can be. It can be undone. And the sooner you let someone in the door, the sooner they can help you fix it. A lot of people, I've dealt with a lot of victims that have that feeling of shame, and they're really kind of down the rabbit hole. So the only person they talk to is the scammer, and all that is, it's just a hamster wheel, right? It just keeps feeding that sense of loneliness and that sense of shame and guilt. And they just keep giving money until they run out of money. Well, if they had stopped in the very beginning when they started feeling that way and had reached out to somebody, they could have intervened. They could have helped. We could have helped. The police department could have helped. Anybody could have helped them. So I don't want there to be any kind of shame that if you are a victim of something, we all have been at some point in time, right? We've all been there. So there shouldn't be any guilt about, wanting to not report it because of that. That should be really an important message for people to understand.
I love it. That's great. That's the message for today. For sure. Thank you for that. Yeah. So can we, because we only have time for a little bit more, but can you talk a little bit about just protecting yourself, with your mailbox, or down my block, for example? I live in the suburbs of Chicago, but I have that lovely mailbox at the end of my block that I think anybody and everybody goes to. Frankly, it's it should be just called the post office, because that's how many people drop their mail off there. Sure. I do have the most wonderful mail carrier who I absolutely love. And so I have absolutely left mail in my mailbox. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I'm assuming you're referencing the blue collection boxes?
You got it.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So two things, right? So it's no secret in the city of Chicago that we've had a problem with the blue collection boxes. It's been an issue with mail theft. I always say, I know I'm old and I've been around a long time, because what's old is new again, right? When I first started my career, paper checks were the big thing to steal and to wash, and that was kind of the scam. And then that went away with the advent of online banking and things like that. And now what's old is new again. That's I've been in my career too long, because now we're back to paper checks, right? So that is a really large scam that's going around the country of checks being stolen and washed. My best advice for that would be, if you're going to mail something like a check or something of value, go into the post office and do it, or hand it to your carrier if you trust your carrier. I have an amazing carrier. I have 3 checks right now waiting to go out to them. Probably the 3 checks I'll write all year long, right? I got my lawn guy, and my doctor copay, right? I don't write a lot of checks, but I will give them to her, because I know that they'll make it to where they're destined for. collection boxes are being secured. We've done an amazing job at securing the collection boxes. Our mail theft rates are actually decreasing. Our robbery rates are decreasing. So we're doing the right things, right? We're communicating the issues to the communities. We're talking to them about things, giving them preventive things to do. Like I said, the safest option is to go into your post office and not the boxes outside of the post office, because, again, the fraudsters are always one step ahead, right? We're always having to chase them, right? So we stopped, start communicating to don't use your neighborhood collection box, go to your post office. So people would use the collection boxes outside the post office. Then they started hitting those. So we really encourage people to go inside the post office, make sure we're handing it to a human being, let them handle it, and then you should be fine after that. Those are some things. If for some reason you mail something and it doesn't get there within a certain amount of time, make sure you report that, file a police report, and then report it to Inspection Service. It's really important that we have that information.
You have, I'll tell you what, even me, you've given me so much stuff. It's like, wow, I didn't think of that. One thing, and I know we're probably really out of time, Niall, but one thing you mentioned, and I just think we should hit it again, is I get these things in the mail and I tear them up and throw them in the trash. And you made a point of saying, tearing them up is great, but you still need to check, your reports and everything. Thank you for that too. That helped me. So everybody out there, don't just throw your stuff away.
Shred it. Make sure you shred stuff. Don't throw away things that, people do garbage pick and they do go through things. They are very, very cunning. It's amazing what they will go through for be able to steal something. Somebody's information is worth a lot of money and they're willing to pay it.
Yeah, they are. I try to put grease and stuff in my trash and over my stuff, and and I have a dog, so I'm not even going to go into that part. But I try to put things that I think maybe they wouldn't want to go through, but maybe they don't mind. You
never know.
Yeah, but Mary, we thank you. We thank you very much for sharing your insights and your knowledge, and we appreciate your time and your experience on this topic more than you probably even know. But before we have to sign off, any last words of wisdom?
Yes, I just would like to say, if anyone has any concerns or questions, please visit our website. It's uspis.gov, USP as in Paul, I as in Ida, S as in Sam.gov. Or if you want to report something, we have an 800 number. It's 1-877-876-2455. That's 1-877-US-MAIL-5. Easy way to remember it. You can also Google us. It's U.S. Postal Inspection Service. And I really encourage you to report anything that you find suspicious or you think we need to look at. We welcome the information. Information for us is really powerful.
Courtney, you want to finish us?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mary. Really appreciate you. Really heartfelt. Thank you for you. Obviously, Mary is the public information officer at the United States Postal Inspection Service. So obviously, I said in the beginning she was an expert. Now you know for sure she is, because she was so wonderful for us today. So thank you, Mary. Thank you so very much. And of course, to our audience, thank you so much for joining us for this enlightening conversation. Remember, knowledge is your best defense against fraud. So staying informed and vigilant is key to protecting yourself and protecting yourself from mail fraud. So please join us next month for another engaging conversation regarding fraud. We're talking all about internet fraud, specifically internet fraud and being safe online. So come check us out next month. Once again, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to continuing our mission of supporting older adults, caregivers, and the entire aging community in Illinois and beyond. For more information regarding fraud from AARP, 1-877-908-3360. So that's 877-908-3360, or by visiting our website, aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. So that's aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. I hope you have the most wonderful day and most wonderful week. And of course, this concludes our virtual event today. Thank you so much, and
stay safe.